Canada, we have a problem with our police force. And the problem is they would much rather bully law-abiding citizens than stand up to the misbehaving mob. Our personal example, yesterday, October 29th, there was an event for Cyrus the Great. We were doing it at Queen's Park in front of the legislature with a permit. And there was a mob of pro-Hamas, they waved Hamas flags, supporters descending upon us. We had a permit to be there for 3, but around 2:35, 2:40, a new police officer shows up to the march, stormy-faced and angry, looking around, clearly there to intimidate. Instead of going to the police officers already there who had built a relationship with us and talk to them to find out who the organizers are, who's this and who's that, and relay the information he needed, no! He stormed right up to the podium and started making a nuisance in front of everyone, trying to find organizers, demanding things, looking mean, making it seem like we're doing something wrong. But when you got to talk to him, he was just saying, there's a violent protest coming out, you have to leave. Do we have to leave? We had a permit to be there. We had every right to be there. Now, my interactions with the cops were when I said, do we have to leave? Well, no. Do we have the right to be here? Yes, you have the right to be here. Okay, then I'm going to stay here and you're going to protect me. And I just did that and walked away. I didn't give them a chance to do all this. But to the other organizers, you hear conversations that they were legitimately, this guy was making the claim that we would be responsible if someone got hurt. That's right. If Jews and Iranians come together, not even for a protest, but for an event to honor Cyrus the Great and the contributions he gave to humanity, and talk about how through our shared history we can build a new bright future of cooperation, if we don't have the right to do that, and that would be at fault, because if a bunch of people waving Hamas flags see us and they attack us, it would be our responsibility if we got hurt? No. That's not how it works. Primary responsibility would be on the ones attacking. Secondary responsibility would be on the cops. And I spoke to another cop who was more friendly, one that we'd built a relationship with, and he said, listen, I don't want to be responsible if anyone gets hurt. And I said, listen, if you do your job and you stand with us, you're not responsible. He's like, listen, there's only 20 of us and there's 4,000 of them. To which I said, I don't care if there's 40,000 of them. This is Canada, and I'm not running away from the legislature, which I have every right to be at, to acquiesce to a mob of terrorist supporters. It's not going to happen. So they could either call more police, which they eventually did, or they can sit there or they could run away. They could do whatever they wanted. But as long as they stood with us, they wouldn't be responsible. So I made that point clear. And big shout out to Goldie Gameri, an elected official. She made that point explicitly clear immediately as well. So it was much easier for people to stand their ground. And one of the main reasons the cops did come is because Goldie Gameri made it very clear that she wasn't going to run away from the mob either. So big ups to Goldie Gameri for grabbing a giant lion and sun flag and standing her ground with the rest of the communities standing there. So that needs to be noted. Also, shout out, I'll talk about Michael Parsa, a member of the provincial cabinet. Minister Parsa did deal with the cops and let the event go on, and he did so I don't know what the conversations were between him and the police, but more police ended up showing up and eventually coming to protect us. But the problem was, the very cops knew that it was easier to bully the Jews and the Iranians and the law-abiding Canadian citizens, because we had the Canadian flags, Israeli flags, lion and sun flags, than it was to try and stop the mob of angry Hamas supporters. They knew that. So they chose the path of least resistance, not the path of what is right, to mitigate harm and safety. But we explained to them, listen, if we run away from the legislature and let them dance in the legislature and say, look, we moved the Jews and Iranians off the legislature and defeated Cyrus the Great, and this is a great victory for Palestine. Every time there's a Jewish or Iranian or any pro-democracy rally, the Palestinian supporters are going to come in and descend upon them and move them out. Every single time. If you capitulate to evil, it gets stronger. So, because we said we're not running away, and a lot of us stayed. Now, I'll say the majority of people left right after 3 p.m. because the cops scared them, and they went around menacing the Jews and the Iranians and being very scary and threatening them with responsibility if anything went down. So a lot left, but a bunch of us stayed. And we stayed to the end to stand face-to-face, or not face-to-face, but our rights to stand in the legislature and be there and not give it to the mob who had waved Hamas flags, allegedly assaulted a Sun reporter, and who knows what they're chanting? Well, you know what they're chanting. So this is the point. Cops, you have a duty to protect the country, and you have to stand up for our values and principles. When law-abiding citizens are doing things within the confines of the law, and there's a mob doing something illegal, your job is to protect the law-abiding citizens from the mob. That's your job. You can't do it? Don't be a cop. And Jews, and Iranians, and anyone else protesting for rights, don't be intimidated by the police officers. The number one priority is to do the easiest thing possible, which is bully you, because they know you're more reasonable than the lunatics. You can't let yourself be bullied. Because if you let yourself be bullied, you see it. What are they offering Jews in universities? We have attics for you to hide in, Jews. We're not going to stand up to the mob. We're going to let them rampage, but we'll give you a nice attic to hide in. Isn't that nice? No. I know it's scary. It's going to take some courage, but you have to stand your ground and let the police know that you're going to stand your ground. And if you go down, it's their job to go down beside you. And then if you make it very clear, hopefully they will call in reinforcements. And just like it happened, the police were forced to do their job, and rank and file, the police did do their job. They diverted the Palestinian mob down College Street, wouldn't let them come to the legislature, and there. Job was done. But it was only done by the courage of the people who stood there, the members of parliament who helped liaise this, and big shout out again to Goldie Gameri for kind of leading the vanguard in this one. So that is worth mentioning. Again, cops, your job is to protect Canadian, American, your country's values. Not just scare Jews and make them run away so your day's a little bit easier. Can't handle it? Quit.